Welcome to the Marketing Madmen. We are going off topic after hours. We're going to continue our conversations here with Jeff Jenkins. And our goal of this is simply to find out what is wrong with the agency model and what your experience has been. So let me start with my monologue rant. So as I've said many times, my biggest problem with agencies is not why they exist. They have served a great purpose. There are a lot of good ones out there. My problem is that they are so specialized now that you need 54 agencies to just succeed, and those agencies never talk to each other. What they do is they shove the products that they believe are best down your throat and say, don't buy this, buy this one. We can do this for you. We can do this. We're a media agency, but we can do digital. And everyone is fighting and doing what's in their best interest versus sitting down as a group and talking about what's in the client's best interest. So that being said, I will let you start, Jeff. What has your experience been like? Go across the board, talk Carter's now, but what has your experience been like with agencies? What do the good ones do to stand out, and what do the bad ones do to just be bad?
Yeah, and look, everyone's had good and bad experiences. I would say I've been very lucky in my career to have more good experiences than bad experiences. I would say at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is the people. Right? You don't buy a brand name, you are buying the relationship with the people. I really like these people. They're great people. They understand the business. They're committed, that sort of thing. It's really hard sometimes to buy a brand name in an agency because the agency or any company, it's only as good as the people that work there. And so for me, what is true and honest is the communication has to be crystal clear. And everyone has to check the ego at the door.
Yeah.
And we know as marketers, we like to have an ego.
You have to.
Agencies.
You almost have to. Like, let's be honest. If you don't have that flamboyance, you're not going to get on the radar in the first place. So you have to have that.
Yes. And same with agencies, right? The great creatives, they believe in their work. They want to do the best work they can. And they have that chutzpah, the whole thing going on. But I think when it comes to sitting down together, and yeah, there are multiple agencies, you know, a PR agency, you have a media agency, you have
analytics
a
agency, digital,
all of those things. The make or break thing is, can they all work together in the same room and sort of in the same sandbox? And what I also find is if you look at great brand and creative, you will find people who make great relationships will bring agencies to the next place they go because they believe in the people and they understand how to work with it. I've been working with our PR firm. I've worked with for now 8 years. They're one of the best in the business. They're based out of New York. They didn't have experience in our category, but they know PR. And I was like,
PR is really, really hard. And I say that because especially at your level, it's a little different, but most PR people are just tasked with getting free marketing, which is not what PR is, because then you should just pay marketing. No one's giving you free stuff. The world doesn't work that way. So PR is really hard. I will say that in my experience talking to people, when you get a good PR agency, you stick with it because there's just not that many good ones out there.
Yeah. And I think that the model of finding these agencies is also a really hard one because there are, for every one of the PR media, there's 1,000 agencies. And how do you find the right one? You can go read the trades, you can do introductions, you can do referrals. At the end of the day, what it matters is what's the kind of relationship you build and what do they do and what do you need? And I think sometimes people want to buy into a brand name of this big agency X or big agency Y without understanding what do we need as a company. And I think that's one of the things that we've done. We just hired a new agency this spring, maybe winter, February, started working with them. And that relationship came about organically. We were looking for a new agency. We were talking to a bunch of new folks, but instead of going through the big traditional massive RFP and making you do all this pitch work, it came down to we wanted to build relationships with people, and it was about conversations. And we met our agency, Mischief, who happens to be one of the most highly sought after agencies. We met them through a conversation with another friend. We sat down for a 30-minute conversation. The 30-minute conversation went 2 hours.
That'll do it.
And we were like, and they were asking us questions. What's wrong with your business? And I think a lot of the challenge with agency partners is as you mentioned, they don't sometimes sit and think about what is the business we can solve. And I think that is the challenge that great agencies do, is they come to you and say, what business problem can we solve for you? Not what creative problem or PR problem or media problem. It's like, what is your business problem and how can we enable it to either solve it for you or grow your business? And those is the difference maker in finding a great agency, is an agency that's focused on how do we solve a consumer or a business problem for you using our toolbox.
Yeah, you could probably imagine, I don't know how much you know about 6A The Fan, our sister station, but we're the enemy of agencies. And most of the reason is we do most of the work in-house. I have access to digital, influencers, events, media. We make our own campaigns. We do all the heavy lifting. So we're a threat in theory because they wanted to take their 15% cut to do a lot of their stuff. So we made a lot of enemies. Now, we've gotten a lot better at it, but here are the two things that I've learned. Number one, To really learn what's going on with someone's business, you need rapport, and rapport takes more time than ever, and people get less time. So, for example, if you were a quarterback in the NFL and you have 6 different offense coordinators, how are you ever going to succeed? So, if we are in a business relationship, it'll take 2 to 3 years before we're really at a point where, like, dude, look, this is what's keeping me up at night. It's not easy. Most people don't want to share their inadequacies or what's going wrong, but once you get to that level, it is pretty hard to fail when you know what's really going on. So that's the first thing. The second thing that people do wrong is that they think about things from a 30,000 foot view and they forget to get to the check boxes. So in a relationship, here is what you are doing, here is your expectation, here's what we are doing. Once we check those boxes, anything else is above and beyond. That is a good part of the relationship, but they're not laying out clearly what the expectations are and what we have to accomplish. And that's your initial contract. So that's how you overcompensate, right? The best thing you can do is lay out a clear terms of here's what we're going to do. We're going to check these boxes off. Anything above and beyond is part of this relationship and building rapport. That will help the part where it takes longer to build rapport. That is how we approach it. In my experience, that is not what I'm seeing out of most people when they're doing RFPs or agencies. They are trying to take a company and plug them into their set of variables, and even big ones, mega ones.
Yeah.
Dentsu is one of the biggest agencies in the world. We deal with them. They take a client, doesn't matter how big, and they plug them into their set of parameters. They don't plug their set of parameters into the clients, which is where I see a lot of that disconnect.
No, I think is the model's changing right now. To your point, there's more stuff ever than done in-house, but there is no sort of like replacement for a phenomenal creative strategist that is from an agency, right? And I think, and same with business strategy, same with PR strategy. If you can get the right person that understands and cares about your business and understands that checklist, it's gold, because everyone inside a business oftentimes is so busy running the business, they can't take and see that sort of 30,000 foot view.
And they take it too personal.
It's personal, right? You're working, you're living the brand. So having someone from the external come in that really is built, but is bought into your business and understands the challenges, there's nothing like it. I've been lucky to have really good partners, but I think it also goes back to the CMO tenure. If you're only a CMO for 2 years and then that CMO leaves and then someone wants to bring in a new agency, I think that is the pace. When things have failed for me in the past, it's been on trust, right? I came in as a new CMO, and there was a tenuous relationship between the brand and the agency. I'm trying to build trust, and they were worried that new CMO just meant we're out.
Right.
And I think those are the challenges that happen, is building that trust and understanding the business.
Yeah. So I hate the word KPI just because it's overused, but I also think those KPIs are important, right? You talked about creatives. Well, how are we grading how well that creative strategy did? Is it purely on the sales that it drove? Is it that is not an easy thing to measure, but it is an essential thing to measure. Otherwise, you're just being sold, right? And most of us that are at a high level are in the high level because we've sold something and we know how to sell. So, we're on the podcast now, so don't bullshit a bullshitter, right? It's that simple. Don't bullshit a bullshitter. If you can't read that I'm going to read your bullshit, then you've misread me completely. Like, my job is to bullshit. My job is to go, we're going to walk into a game, we're going to drink a beer, and we're going to bullshit. And it's not a bad thing to say that, but don't think for a second that you're going to be able to bullshit me, because that is my game right now, right? The second I met you, you're a people person, you're out, you can shoot the shit with anybody. Don't come in and try to, and that's what they do wrong, because it's all about them and they're not thinking about you. They're not reading people. What do you think about, I hear now that there's AI that will scrape your LinkedIn, similar to what I did, and build a profile of how to email you and how to interact with you based on what they think about you. I think it's destined to fail, because my LinkedIn persona has nothing to really reflect who I am, because those things I'm not putting in public. Let's leave it at that. But what do you think about that? And that's, we talked about AI, and I'm afraid we lose the personal touch, and my success has been in relationships and being true to people and being honest. And when you F up, say why you effed up, and just don't make the mistake again. Yeah,
the AI thing is wild. You can start to see what emails you're getting now that are sales tactics that are AI generated.
Oh yeah,
and I think, but the LinkedIn thing is interesting, because the goal of a great salesperson is to grab your attention. Right, that's job one, to make a connection with you. And it is wild how many people find out weird stuff about me and send me stuff as a thing to get my attention.
But it got your attention.
It got my attention, but I'm like, and I have to give them props. I'm like, hey, you found out that that I'm obsessed with book X or book Y, or I really like this movie, and you send me, a little like playing card from, I'm like, hey, it's sort of scary. It's like, I got to stop talking as much as I do in public, because that stuff gets out there. But at the same time, it's like, you got to reward, like, there's more information out there around every individual than there ever has been. So when I get a sales email that's really lazy, I'm like, well, gosh, you didn't really work very hard because you didn't come with your A game. Especially, I think as AI, if you probably typed in your name, they can say, give me the top 10 facts you know about.
It's automated
about Jeff, and then like they're going to find out all these interesting things about me that I think it's once again, AI is going to be just one more tool, and you've got to master it. How do I use it to best drive my business, my marketing, my advertising, my whatever? And there's going to be AI engineers that are the next phase. There's going to be millions of dollars of companies built on top of it if you learn how to do it right.
I think for me, AI is the anchor. The show is the anchor. AI is the part around it. So this show, I do this for content. I do this for networking. AI rounds that out a lot for me. So it's taken and put it to short form. I was never going to be a TikToker, but if AI is doing all the work for me and I can throw this on TikTok with something that's already summated for the audience I'm going after, why the hell wouldn't I put this on TikTok? So, but the show is the core of what I do. And that's what it's become. And honestly, I joke about it. And luckily you've passed, so you're good. But I call it's networking speed dating. In the 45 minutes that this door is closed, I can decide if this person's worth a damn of my time in the future or not. And usually because do we agree on strategies? Do we think the same way? Do we have these same things? Do we measure success the same way? There are people that I've had on the show, I've dozed off halfway in the middle. And usually I'll stop it and we'll start something else on. But the show is the anchor. The AI is the support mechanism. I couldn't build a show with AI. It is nearly impossible, especially if you really want to do a podcast. You need 100 episodes. Could you imagine reading AI for 100 episodes? One, you'd blow your brains out, but two, it's just not the real thing. So as usual, I went completely off topic. Any other advice out there to people in marketing? Let's say we're coming up, we're 21, we're going to Virginia. Screw Virginia, by the way. I went to Maryland and our mall was bigger than yours.
Wahoo wah.
Any advice to marketers coming up? What to study, what not to study? What does the degree matter? When you realize you should get into it, what advice do you have to people out there?
So the phrase that I tell everyone that either has worked for me or I've mentored, someone told me, and I would give them credit if I could remember who said it, but I don't remember who said it, so I'll take the credit today, which is there is no traffic if you make your own lane. And that is something that has been the guiding piece of advice in my career. When I got into digital, when no one really knew what digital was, as a marketer, whether it's the choices I make in my career, whether it's the choice I make of what I work on or how we pursue it, is there is no traffic if you make your own lane. And that means you can't be compared. If you go to work for a marketing company, there are 25 brand managers. But if you choose to go do this other thing that isn't really in the same title, you don't get compared across those other 24. So then it becomes, how do you drive in a new way that is differentiated? And that has been the difference in my career, and I think that's the difference for everyone, is a sea of sameness is boring. But if you can walk to the beat of your own drummer, will be the unlock for your career, and your choices are more interesting.
Yeah, I agree with you. Don't go where you don't fish where everyone's fishing, right? Like I think radio, for what it's worth, is such a great entryway into marketing. You got to write your own commercials. You see the heartache of seeing no. A million people tell you no, but when you get that person that says this and they understand the passion that the listeners have, it's a great place to start. So I got into sports by accident. I was in radio, came here, moved to Atlanta, took this job because it was great for networking, and fell ass backwards into one of the greatest sports establishments there is. I mean, I'm playing Petrie. I'm playing with college football coaches. I'm seeing all this stuff heads on. That was never my intention. My intention was never getting into sports. To be honest with you, I don't even listen to the radio station, mostly because I watch the games. Why am I listening to people talk about something that I've already watched and consumed? It doesn't make any sense to me. But the brand power the station has, I would have never known if I didn't take the risk. And my marketing came almost by accident, which I think sometimes is better. To fall into it and just to be able to absorb and see all these things. So it's been a great conversation. We're doing after hours on the Marketing Madmen. I think we're going to head over to the game now, have a beer. You've been listening to the Marketing Madmen. Thanks for listening.